Hey, Mike, is there any chance that we are now restarting after about 20 minutes of episode because you didn't press record?
That is a stupid question. Do, fa, ti, re, mi, fa, do.
That's right.
No. You know, that was the hardest part of like sight singing for me. I'm a decent sight reader, decent sight singer, but attaching the, what do you call them?
Solfege.
The solfege to it? No, not a chance for me.
Honestly, like, and I went to a music conservatory for college, so we did a lot of this, and I don't know if it's just like me being a contrarian, right? But there's a couple of different ways to do it, because like you can do it with numbers.
Moving root, right? There's that too, right?
Right, movable do or fixed do.
Yeah.
Fixed do is for weird nerds.
Okay.
And I am a weird nerd. Movable do makes much more sense. That way, do is the base of each, whatever key you're in, as opposed to a
And
set.
as any baker knows, you want to move the dough, right?
You gotta move it. You gotta move it. Or numbers, which feel a lot less eggy to me. Once you like saying do, re, mi, I'm like, I'm a professional musician. This feels embarrassing, and it always did. I was in 5th grade, and I'm like, this is embarrassing.
So then, what do you think about? We'll get dressed up in sci-fi stuff. We'll like go on a TV show set.
Already hard.
And we just like we'll do it for like, I don't know, 10 minutes in the middle of a TV show. What do you think?
I mean, here's the thing. Weirdly, we're from the musical theater world. That's kind of a normal thing. I just wish it weren't on solfege. That's the thing. You know what it is? I think it's because of Sound of Music. Because Sound of Music established solfege as a stupid thing you do with children. And so like I was always embarrassed to do it. And I grew up like a half hour from Stowe, Vermont, where the Von Trapp family landed. So there, like, you couldn't like throw an apple without hitting a bad production of The Sound of Music. So I've always sort of resented it.
Are there good ones?
No. Very good question. There are more expensive ones.
Yeah, okay.
So I'm gonna say all that, and yet still, weirdly, that scene works for me. So we'll get to it.
Only one thing about that scene worked for me, but we'll get there.
Okay, well we'll
they were good enough singers that like the score, when the score kicks in and joins them, like we're all in the right key. Like that is impressive.
That was pretty cool.
Yeah,
that was pretty cool. Yeah.
Outside of that, it's weird.
It is certainly verging on eggy and flirts that line.
It does flirt. And then you've got Bashir in the corner, basically like, what's that guy, Keith whatever from Dateline, where he's like, he's just watching over by the console like,
what she didn't know was the doctor was perving on her.
Why are you recording it, Bashir?
Keith Morrison. Is it Morrison?
Keith Morrison. That feels right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, lots to talk about,
yes.
but we can't talk about it until we talk about the Patron comments from last week's episode, Take Me Out to the Hollow Suite. You know what's interesting is like when Mike and I have to restart and do it all again.
It's much better the second time.
Hey, it's always better the second time, but weirdly, it's always different.
Yeah.
Like we don't repeat the things we talk about. So like that's lost. It's lost forever. Our first conversation.
That's okay.
So many hot takes from Mike.
Like
the hottest of takes.
Literally, because I was talking about the heat outside.
Yeah, we basically complained about how hot it was and like various dogographies.
So if you've missed our conversations just being grumpy old men, stick tuned to last week or the week before.
I'm too hot and my dog is old. Yeah, that's basically what we did.
Yeah, well. All right. We stand by those takes.
Stand by it. Oh, still the truth. Will always be the truth. All right, Joshua Cronin says, I absolutely love this episode. It's fun. It's everyone together. It's team building. I am not a fan of baseball. Neither am I, Joshua. I once wrote a theme song to my fantasy baseball podcast entitled, I'm so bored, I must be watching baseball.
Baseball's awesome.
It's an activity. Anyway, Joshua tries
baseball has in common with hockey, Keith?
What's that?
There's a bunch of excitement, and at the end, the same 3 teams win all the time.
Fair. But at least hockey has a salary cap. So, anyway.
No argument from me.
He says, but it doesn't matter because this episode isn't about that, meaning baseball. It's about family, like you said, Keith. I love the music, and I love the Federation anthem and have it on my phone saved. About the customs. I've only done Ben in a Niners outfit, but have slated to do the whole team. Disappointed you don't have the whole team yet. And damn it, saying I need to make a diorama of a baseball field, I guess I have to now. Yeah, Mike's gonna need that diorama.
Keith, if you could pick one custom to magically show up in the mail for you from this episode, what would it be?
From Take Me Out to the Holosuite?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, no brainer. Umpire Odo.
My same pick. Damn. So someone has to make two now.
Or nobody has to do anything.
Nobody has to do anything, no.
Because we just say things and frequently they magically appear,
It's
but
true.
they don't have to.
I hear Worf's quadruple shivved super figure calling to me.
Super Shiv Worf. Anyway, 97 self-sealing stem bolts from Joshua Cronin. Brian from Video Game Drive-By says, hi guys, I gotta say, I'll never understand how people don't like this episode. I guess at some point some of us got convinced that fun is the thing we aren't allowed to have if we are serious grown-ups. Thankfully, I've never been a serious grown-up, and this is not a serious show, so you're in good company. This season needed a little bit of silliness before we go play for keeps for the rest of the season. The comedy is perfect, the characters are excellent, who we have grown to love. It is definitely an all-time great episode of the entire franchise. 97 toasts to manufactured triumph. I want that Niners hat so bad.
I bought us two.
He sure did. I knew that was going to come. Mm-hmm. I was like, I had the over-under of whether those were ordered before we finished recording the episode.
I made a classic mistake, though.
Oh.
Drinking coffee this morning. And we're talking about, because Jen doesn't understand, God love my wife, but she doesn't understand that once Keith and I talk about it for 2.5 hours, after I watch it, talk about it with the patrons, and then watch it with you for 2.5 hours, I'm done with my conversation about the episode. But Jen's always a few days behind, then she wants to talk about it. I was like, yeah, I know, I watched it already. But all she said about this one, she's like, can we get hats? And I was like,
you didn't buy Jen a hat.
Well, I did buy two though, Keith, so you and her have to... You and her have to blood sport it.
Yeah, but after all that talk about how large my head was, I'm assuming you're going to get some sort of like a tarp.
I did ensure that they should fit both of our heads, so
we'll see about that.
Yeah.
So it's going to come down to
if it smells when you wear the hat, when I give you the hat, Keith. If it smells Keith. You just woke me up from a long slumber, so my speech still needs a little help.
What?
I spoke wrong.
And if you get the hat and it smells Keith.
No, if it smells.
What are you trying to say?
If it smells like honey and gooseberries, or what was it?
Yes.
You'll know. I'm sorry. Clearly, I need to go back into my my mute phase.
Should we start it over for a third time? All right, Jason Moe says 99 stem bolts take me out of the holosuite is just a charmingly fun episode, much like Trials and Tribulation Subspace Rhapsody, which is the musical episode of Strange New Worlds, don't we know? And yet another fun DS9 episode coming up later this season that Keith
Oh, you couldn't have scripted it any better. Could not have. Cut, print. Cut, print. Oh, man.
Oh, no. Oh God.
Yeah,
that funny. The co-host sitting in my chair briefly alluded to. Star Trek as my happy place, and episodes like this are, for me, the happiest of all. And finally, big congrats to Keith on his upcoming one-man show. I wish I'd lived closer to New York so I could attend in person, but I will be cheering you on from afar. Yes, I forgot to put the link in the show notes, but you can find out all about 10 times I should have known I was autistic at autisticshow.com. What's happening over there?
So, I had this notebook, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And you'll notice that Keith and I cussed, but I bleeped it because...
I did not.
You did.
When did I cuss?
Just now. But I cussed. I effed it and you beat it. But that's okay. whatever. It's very easy.
B doesn't count.
Well, when we want to put non-explicit, it does matter.
No, it doesn't.
It does. That's enough, Keith. Keith. But let me tell my story so we can move forward. So I have this book. Now, generally, the notes in it just say Puerto Rico because that's usually our code for go back and cut this. But now with AI and my editing program, I can very easily cut and replace any of the cusses or whatever. But I also make notes for other stuff that I want to like go back and remember to do something with. Anyway, for some reason, in my notebook right now, I was flipping through to find a blank page.
Uh-huh.
And there's just one note on this page, and I'm going to zoom in because it is, out of context, just the best. It's so on theme and on brand for our show. Here we go. Let me see if I can zoom. Hold on.
The 19-minute boner. That's pretty good for over 40.
Are you kidding? That's like somebody needs a nap after that. As when it's as hot as it is today? You're probably wearing shorts. It could be a disaster. Puerto Rico! Right.
No, that's staying in. You have to own that.
I'm not cutting anything.
You gotta own that. Jason Moe, who after all of this time, years of friendship, has now quit the show. Yeah. You mentioned my show.
I know, I'm sorry, Ben. I'm so glad we segued from Keith promoting his show to 19-minute boner.
I mean, it will not be a 19-minute boner, sadly. It's going to be about a 120-minute boner killer, but it's fine.
Man, it was better if I told that joke, and I was about to.
Yep, knew that was coming. Oh, it's too hot. Mike and I are punchy.
Yeah, no, it's bad. It's bad news. All right, come see Keith's show. 90 minutes of dry flaccidness.
Wow, that was worth it. That was really worth it. Really stuck the landing. Puerto Rico!
Should we start from the top?
No, I got stuff to do.
Okay, let's go.
Harry Pothead says, I will never understand how a conservative evangelical Republican can love Star Trek, but I have known some, and a few of them like it for the right reasons. Or at least they did. Interesting, yeah. I think, like, having those beliefs and loving Star Trek means you don't understand one of those. But, I don't know. It's nothing to cry about, Mike. Mike is weeping. Just breathe through it.
It's so early in the show, too. I'm so scared.
We're never gonna finish. Not even in 19 minutes. Kevin Miles says, I love this episode. All of the station crew and supporting cast is present. A lighthearted story that only a few Trek shows could pull off. Watching Rom trying so hard to play is heartwarming. Especially, according to Armin, Max is a pretty good baseball player. I give this episode 97 self-sealing stem bolts. Carl Fisher says 98 stem bolts. And I don't like to give out stem bolts like that. Carl Fisher does not give out stem bolts willy-nilly. I think this episode is fun, whimsical, and relies on so little technobabble that this is one of the episodes I have always used to introduce friends to Star Trek. Like Mike, this is perhaps one of my top 10 episodes, not just of Deep Space Nine, but all of Trek. My only nitpick with this episode has to do with the science of the holodecks, like I mentioned. On Next Gen, holodecks seem to be these large chambers, while on Deep Space Nine, we've seen them when the holosuites are turned off, they don't appear to be very large rooms, especially if they have to fit within Quark's bar. 2 full baseball teams fit into one of those little holosuites? There's lots of users in one chamber for the computer to be trying to constantly change the distance for your perspectives. Like if they had said, well, let's... Oh god, I rolled my thing. Let's use our old cargo bay we converted to a holodeck. Maybe this would be working better. A nitpick for sure, but one that does not take away from the joy of watching such a great episode.
So I was thinking about it after we talked about this last week, and I'm sure that people have mapped out the science of the holosuite and the holodeck, and what I'm about to say is will be ridiculed with inaccuracies.
Oh.
But how I've been brain cannoning it is as follows. So I'm sort of like a fan of, I like to be on the cutting edge of stuff. So I have explored the various VR headsets. I've done some gaming in VR, some experiential stuff. I've checked out the Meta Quests. I've checked out the Apple Vision Pro, all these things. What they do incredibly well is create that, like, AR is cool, but like the VR, putting yourself into a place, it's crazy how quickly the scale and depth of everything your brain is fooled. Like, even though I know I'm sitting here and my monitor is right there, and if I extend my arm and touch it, I will hit my hand against the wall or whatnot. You put that thing on for more than 30 seconds, you're hitting the wall, right? So I just think of the Holosuite as basically virtual reality. Instead of it being done one-to-one in scale, it's tricking your eyes with some sort of future technology that is basically goggling you, and so you don't need it to be depth appropriate. That's how I'm thinking about it.
Yeah, it's an interesting way of, it's an interesting approach, and because I know that the next generation of 3D televisions that you don't need glasses for, what they're doing is they are actually reading your eyes and adjusting the picture based on what your eyes are doing. And so I imagine this would be a hyper advanced version of that.
The thing I can't grok as well is that is it like the replicator in that when it's creating the bats and stuff, is it fooling you to have sensation, or is it really creating the bat that you're holding?
I believe it is really the lore is it is really creating, it's using force fields to create actual mass and
so you could create a weapon in there and walk out with it if the checks were off or whatnot.
No, because it's just force fields. So unless you have the projector there to create the force fields, if you walk off of the holodeck, it'll disappear because there's no projection there.
Gotcha.
So, but we'll get to that in Voyager. That's actually a very important part of Voyager. So we'll get there. All right, we need to move forward. Hibernation Pod says, the only sort of dissenting. It's a love-hate one for me. I love Deep Space Nine, but I hate baseball. Agreed. In fact, one of my fantasy baseball team's names was I Hate Baseball. Also, didn't join last night because I took myself out to a hockey game instead. I don't care about sports around, but this playoff series kind of matters to me. Me too. All of our hearts are broken. I'm with you. As for the episode, it had its charm and its memorable funny moments. Death to the opposition! 70 self-sealing stem bolts. Mysterious Anne. I love this episode. 99 stem bolts and no notes. Just joy. That should have been our show. JD says, I saw Keith's shirt and immediately knew what show it was from, and it does not surprise me that you have an Avenue Q shirt. Yeah, well, not only that, that was my that was my uniform, not just a shirt. I wore that playing for Avenue Q. Y'all keep throwing around the term bottle episode, and I haven't said anything, but I think we need to revisit the definition because I don't think it means what you think it means. To which I say, JD, I think Mike doesn't know what it means. I know what it means.
I mean, I do too. I stand. Maybe a misnomer, but I stand by the point I was making.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. But you know what? Bottle episode means whatever you need it to mean in your heart.
I mean, I just think even though it's incorrect, it's. But this really is just like a Freak of the Week episode, right? It stands apart. It's a Monster of the Week or whatever you want to call it.
Yes. It is a non-serialized episode. Yeah, that makes sense. He says, dude, if flying wasn't so bad lately, I would love to make a trip to New York to see my show at autisticshow.com.
That's it. I'm saying it officially, since I have to be there anyway. It's the first official K&M meetup. If you can get there, get there. I'll go take you out to a drink afterwards. But Keith probably won't be a part of that, but I'll do it.
I'll have a lot on my plate that night, but I'll definitely say hi. I've got friends I'd love to see, plus make a slime tutorial. Uh-oh. I think Mike's going to make a slime tutorial of my show.
That's true.
So
we'll not be under an equity contract, right? So I can do that.
No, that's right. So, Yeah, you can make all the slimes you want.
Could be Patreon only.
Yeah, for sure. We could definitely release
Nothing
something.
confirmed. Stay tuned.
No. I like it. And for Slime Tutorial, for those who are not in the wink wink no, is a bootlegged recording of a Broadway show.
So do not go to YouTube and type in name of show Slime Tutorial.
That's right, because that way you would see. Sometimes they're terrible. Sometimes they're pretty good. I have a shockingly large archive, allegedly, that I have access to. So anyway, where was I? I think the quintessential 80s commercial is the clap-on plug.
Clap on, clap off, clap on, clap off.
The clapper.
Something.
Yeah, 100%. By the way, the only thing I'm getting annoyed with you dropping your episodes on a Friday evening is around the same time as the new Taskmaster. Having to pick is hard. Never pick us.
Yeah.
No.
We're not going anywhere.
We'll be around. We'll be around. And besides, we're talking about a TV show from the 90s. It's not pressing. There's no spoilers to be had. Do you remember what... Oh, this is an important question.
Okay.
Mike,
Yeah.
do you remember what kind of pie you seduced Jen with? I'm assuming it wasn't gooseberry.
Yeah. It would have had to have... It was fall, and come fall, I only eat pumpkin pie, basically exclusively, so it was
Really?
absolutely a pumpkin pie, yeah.
Not apple.
I'm a pumpkin pie guy. For my birthday, I have pumpkin pie.
That's weird.
That's what I like.
Okay.
I like a sweet potato, too. All right?
No, I like pie. I really do enjoy pie. I like pumpkin pie, but pumpkin pie is like it's like a palate cleanser.
I came very late in my life to key lime pie, and now I'm a fan.
Oh, I love key lime pie. My mom really likes cherry pies. I might try to pick her up on the way up. Anyway, apple or pumpkin pie, not the most seductive of pies I can imagine, but it worked.
Depends on whose fridge it's being served from.
It's true. It's true. Remember, Mike, you can watch any Next Gen you want, anytime you want. That's true. That's true.
I do.
Tom Hanks and Meg Ryan have only done 3 romantic comedies together, but they are so popular it feels like they were in a lot. A good trilogy is all you need.
What's the third one?
You've got Mail,
Sleepless in Seattle.
Sleepless in Seattle. I think there was one more recently.
Oh, maybe. Yeah.
Y'all had Alan Gurton mowing grass in our runner. That was funny. I was like, what job are you going to give me by the time you get down to me? Mike, what job would JD do in the our baseball?
I can only hear JD up there calling the balls and strikes, like being the press box guy. Now batting.
Okay. So he's not actually the umpire. He's
No.
He's
doing the press box.
He's doing the announcing.
Yeah.
Okay.
3D printing away.
Okay. All right. JD, we might need an announce. We might need you to announce us.
Yeah.
When we go up to
now batting for your Vermont maple holes, Keith. What do you call the taps on the trees? Honey pots, honey wells, honey holes.
Taps.
For your Vermont maple taps, Keith. Sticky fingers, Varney.
Not sticky. No way. Well, look, I used to do the national anthem for the Vermont Expos when we had the minor league for the Montreal Expos, which are now the.
So you would have had to do the
Washington.
Canadian accent.
Not in Vermont.
National.
Accent.
Please continue.
I'm gonna sing about this country.
Oh, Canada. I like Oh Canada because it references the name of the country, which is something we sadly don't do.
I know every word of Oh Canada. I sang it religiously before hockey games.
I know one. Oh. I meant to say 2, but I said 1 and then I had to go with it. Can we please move forward?
My home and native land. Please call a doctor because Mike is having a stroke. Anyway. Where the hell were we? Yeah. I told Mike already, but this episode is about pure joy for me. I know I can watch it anytime, it just makes me happy. It's not got stakes, it's not a flawless narrative, but it's happiness. It's 88 self-sealing stem bolts. Apparently, answering my question, Ira Stephen Bear has the screen-used autographed baseball. Of course he does. As well he should, as the showrunner. Alan T. Gurton says, this is one of my all-time Deep Space Nine favorites for the sheer amount of fun the cast seemed to have making it. Sure, the story may be kind of hack, Rom making the sort of big play, but what's not to like? Worf's death to the opposition, Odo's total investment as an umpire, Avery's physical business when Sisko is sharing his history with Cassidy. I could go on. Plus, I so want a Niners jersey. Cotton, please. But I'm not sure my wife would appreciate it. I give it 95 autographed baseballs. Yeah, I'm sure they make them. P.S.
You can get anything on Etsy.
Well, in fact, if I were to wear something to a convention, I think like that's something I would be comfortable wearing. I'm going up to Fort Ticonderoga next week to see the set. You know, they have an entire original series set built.
I did know that.
Yeah,
with the carpet and everything, right?
With the convention, yeah, they're doing the convention. The Shatner's going to be there, so that's actually why our next episode might be late.
Mm-hmm. Should we just skip the week? Do you think?
We might just skip the week or something like
summer
that.
Break?
Do
a summer break.
But maybe we'll do a special episode of I'll just show the pictures. We'll do a show the pictures that I take in Fort Ticonderoga and see if I can get a picture with Shatner. I'm not paying for it. All right. Lastly, Alan says, P.S. I listened to this podcast today, Sunday, and then had to laugh when K&M put me in charge of mowing the field. I was mowing the backyard at that very moment. Well played, man. Well played.
That's funny.
Hilarious. I was listening to a podcast mowing my lawn this morning, which is why my brain is bad because it was too hot. All right. Let's move forward and talk about this week's episode, Season 7, Episode 5, Chrysalis, which I hate this title because I really struggle spelling Chrysalis.
Yeah.
It's just not one of those words.
But...
It's just like, I'm not a great speller to begin with, and words like that just confuse me.
The Chrysalis, correct me if I'm wrong, because I kept using it all during the watch along about the butterfly transformation, right? It's like...
It is the thing that the caterpillar
breaks
makes.
Out of. Yeah.
Yeah, it spins it around it, and then breaks it out, and it's a butterfly. Did you ever hatch monarch butterflies when you were a kid?
I did, yeah.
I did too.
It made me very sad for some reason to capture them.
Oh, but
because we had one die, I think, and that made me freak me out. Yeah.
Because it wasn't sad, right? Because you take the caterpillar and we got a fish tank and we built it out this whole enclosure. It was very happy, and then it turned a thing, and then when it came out, we set it free, and it was very joyful.
Yeah, no, they're just trauma for me. But...
All right, well, we'll have to talk about that later on Mike's therapy. That'd be a pretty good series. Just like we alternate each week and be each other's therapist.
It sounds awesome and very problematic.
I mean, it could be. All right. Anyway, so Chrysalis.
Well, also known as the first 10 minutes we talk before the show starts.
I know, but I think it would be fun to do do it for real.
All right.
That'd be weird, but fun.
Stay tuned.
Not sponsored by BetterHelp, because I'm poor. I just need Mike to do it. I need not that great help.
Yeah, I need barely help at all. That's what ours is called.
Better than nothing help.
Yeah, maybe.com.
Maybe. Possibly much, much worse.
Oh, boy.
All right. This aired on October 28th, 1998. What a great time of year.
Mm-hmm.
Love an October 28th.
Pumpkin pie in the air.
Pumpkin pie in the air. I'm definitely doing a rewatch of either the Jason movies or the Halloween movies. That's something Jillian and I do every single year. We pick one of those series and watch all the way through every single one, and we rate each movie based on kills and boobs.
As you should.
And
what are you listening to between movies?
We might be. I know you're so excited. We might be listening to The First Night still.
Oh, man, do I love that second night, but it's not as good as the first. You didn't expect the fart. You gotta be honest. You didn't expect it.
Did we? Wow.
It's for future generations to articulate and analyze the comedic nuance that I bring to the table. Mm-hmm. I don't think it's worth our time or effort.
So
right
in
now.
30 years from now, when there is the podcast reviewing this episode, mm-hmm. it'll be like, yeah, this one wasn't that great.
No.
I don't know how many stem bolts this episode's going to get.
They don't give out stem bolts. They give out farts.
I dearly hope farts is not going to be our currency for the review show of our review show.
Oh.
Wow.
Could someone please make a bumper for the review show of our review show? I really need to get meta on this, baby.
I think that's just you're spiraling into like a vortex of narcissism.
Keith, what was the top movie?
I'll tell you the top movie. Pleasantville.
Oh, it's one of my favorites.
You know what? Of all the things that I have in my archive, I don't have that.
I don't have that either. I'm going to put it, yeah.
Pleasantville
is excellent. Tobey Maguire, Alicia Silverstone. No, that's not it. It's Reese Witherspoon, Reese Bob Hoskins. Mm-hmm. And of course, Jeff Daniels. Excellent in that film.
Roger Rabbit.
Yep. Bob Hoskins.
Yep.
Is not in that film.
Yep. Bilbo Baggins.
You're just... Keith, how dare you besmirch the good name of Pleasantville, the first movie since The Wizard of Oz to be black and white until it isn't.
That's true. Some really, really cool, clever CGI work. All right, Mike, what was on TV tonight?
Same.
Okay. What was Voyager doing? Let me tell you, the episode Extreme Risk, where there's some stuff that who cares about, but we're building something pretty cool. Okay. Can't talk about it because we're gonna do that show.
Keith, keep it to yourself. Nailed it. Slayed it.
This was directed by Jonathan West, who last directed Wrongs, Darker Than Death or Night, aka this episode. And it was written by Renee Echevarria, who wrote 2 episodes ago. Gonna be fun. Let's do some, we've had so much seriousness.
Yeah, that's fair.
On this episode. Let's do something fun. Little trivial, man.
Now, Keith, waste your time.
With what?
With trivial trivia.
This, of course, is a sequel to Statistical Probabilities. And since the plot line revolves around Serena, who was catatonic in the previous episode, the producers weren't sure if she could handle an episode where she must talk and carry a lot of the story. So they took the unusual step of having her audition for a part she'd already played. The indignities of the arts. Good Lord. But according to producers, the role was hers to lose, but within seconds, we knew she was in. That would be crazy if they recast her.
Yeah, I could, but weirder things have happened, I guess.
For sure. This episode was heavily influenced by the movie Charlie from 1968, which itself was based on the sci-fi novel Flowers for Algernon by Daniel Keyes, which explores very similar themes.
Oh, I had a completely different read on that. Interesting.
Really?
Yeah. In my opinion, this episode is exactly the movie Awakenings, the 1990 film with Robin Williams and Robert De Niro.
I don't think I've ever seen it.
Awakenings?
Is it good?
Oh, it's so good. I believe it's on Plex. You gotta check it out.
All right, I'll add it when I add
it's excellent. One of my tops. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
We watched Charlie in school, in like middle school. And do you know like the basic concept of those two things?
Yes.
Yeah. And There was also a great episode of It's Always Sunny that does the same premise.
I just started to rewatch that to get prepped for season 17.
Oh, yeah. Anyway, that movie wrecked me. Like, I was in middle school, like, in class, like, trying to keep it together. It broke me. It was so sad. Anyway, when Kira and Odo are heading to the holosuite for their date, Kira is wearing the same dress and earrings worn by Lola Cristal, the holographic version of Kira. From his way, do a little role play. You know, whatever Odo wants, Lola gives, apparently.
Nailed it. I don't want to give you credit for that, but it was pretty good.
Yeah. Director Jonathan West found shooting the musical scene a very difficult thing to do. For sure. One person had to lead into someone else and flow within the music at the same time. Also, the quartet all reacted differently to singing. Lauren had been in an all-girl punk rock band back in the 80s and had no problem with it. Hilary Shepard did, of course. Michael Keenan, Patrick enjoyed it, though not being professional, he surely could sing. Tim Ransom, Jack, was completely tone deaf and had to be dubbed. And Faith Sally Serena discovered she had a wonderful singing voice, and she enjoyed the experience more than anyone. They were all very pleased with the whole sequence. Yeah, that must have been really difficult to film if you're not going to do it all in single takes, because you have both pitch and tempo you have to match with other shots. And especially with non-professional musicians, like, that's actually way harder to do.
Well, don't you just probably pre-record it, right, and then just lip it and then cut that together?
Maybe they did that.
Yeah.
But I don't get the sense that they did. Who knows?
It's still intricate, like the staccato rhythms are pretty...
It's very intricate. Yeah. And especially when, of course, the orchestra comes in, you know, they have to be right on pitch. So
that's why I was thinking it's pre-done, but who knows?
That would make sense. We should, somebody out here knows. So, Renee Echevarria's initial concept for this episode involved Bashir, Jack, Patrick, Lauren, and Serena going on a mission for Starfleet. However, along the way, something happens and the four savants have to pretend to be Starfleet officers. Section 31 was also going to be involved in some way. The plan was for the episode to focus on Jack, who would temporarily be cured of his neurosis. Echevarria planned to base the script on the 1959 Daniel Keyes short story, Flowers for Algernon, with Jack ultimately reverting to his normal state at the end of the episode and being abandoned by Starfleet. Ira Stephen Bear, however, didn't like the idea, and it never made it to the scripting stage. According to Echevarria, it boiled down to the fact that it was a tragedy that this guy becomes normal, which just kind of glamorizes mental illness. That's a very common sort of Hollywood story. Oh, aren't they cute? Don't rob them of their originality and make them normal, which is bull. Yeah, fair enough. Which is, I mentioned, actually, because I was thinking about it, I wonder how I would feel about seeing Charlie again. Because, like, the tragedy was he lost his normal faculty, his quote-unquote normal faculties, but I don't remember if he was unhappy at all. So if he was happy with whatever he was dealing with, like, it's not so sad. So, anyway, curious to see how it would react to that today. So, a scene where Bashir and Serena kiss was reshot a month later, after the originally filmed scene was deemed to show Bashir as looking too predatory towards her. Interesting. We'll definitely get into that as we go. Our guest stars this week are Tim Ransom as Jack, Faith C. Sally as Serena Douglas, Hilary Shepard Turner as Lauren, Michael McKean as Patrick, and Aaron Eisenberg as Nog. You know who could kiss us all day long and never be predatory, Mike?
Anton Thies. Merritt Neef. Harry Pothead. I'm scrolling.
Where did I go?
Also the Hall of Famers. These people. But more importantly, we've got the patrons. Brian Kimbler, Beersock, Parks Bar, Jamie Lubin, Jason Moe, Deborah, Peter Bank, Joshua Cronin, DC, Anton again, Mike, Andrew Hayes, Alan, Ann, Worf, Charles, John, Keith, Casey, Harry, Carl, Alan, Deborah, Tren, Odo, Chancellor Jen, Lost, Emu, Scott, Merritt, Neith, Byron Woosley, Aroha, I'm Sausage, Aim Sausage, Ben B, Brian, Nicolay, YouTube, Hibernation Pod, Miri Rogue Knight, JD, Colin, Chris, Frank, Pat, Joshua, Kevin, Fedora, Engineer, Jerome, April, James, Chanel, Laura, Bolian, Lutz, Wyatt, Kevin, and Ryan. Those are the few, the proud, the patrons. We thank them. Come on and join the team. Patreon.com/K&M.
Okay. What do you say we go into our screening room?
Do re do re fa to solo fa ti.
That's the thing we listen to.
Hey.
So at the beginning of Chrysalis, poor Bashir is lonely, but O'Brien is busy, and Kira and Odo want
to get busy.
private hollow suite time. You better lock that hollow suite. So Bashir has to go back to his quarters and work on a medical problem in his space jammies.
No, I'm cool. I'm just doing some Sudoku.
Yeah, but weirdly, he actually is working on a medical thing, because, we all know what. Okay. But soon, he is summoned by Nog. And he himself has been summoned by an admiral named Patrick and his staff, who of course turn out to be our genetically engineered buddies posing as Starfleet officers. Patrick has been playing an admiral and effectively bluffing their way through everything by saying, Mike...
That is a stupid question.
Indeed. They busted themselves out of the institution to deliver Serena, who Bashir has been trying to help with some new speculative medical procedures. Serena is still unresponsive when Bashir talks to her, but he's going to try to help. And this really makes me think, if the cut ending of the previous time we saw them had not been cut, none of this episode would have been possible. Because in the... Do you remember the cut sequence?
No.
So
Oh, yeah,
Serena,
he says, I'm going to try to...
So Serena talks to Bashir because it turns out she was in love with Jack, and but had the ability to speak. And had that been the story, none of this would have been able to happen.
I thought I recalled her having a crush on Jack or something.
Yeah, I mean, I think she still helps Bashir a little bit, but she never speaks. So, interesting. So in Act 1, naturally, Sisko is not thrilled that the Super Friends got on the station, especially since they all almost surrendered Starfleet to the Dominion. We do frown on that.
Generally.
Bashir is hoping he can help Serena escape being trapped in her own mind. He arranged allowing the rest of them to stay on the station. And they're all gonna, once again, stay in the cargo bay for reasons beyond my understanding. Why can't they have quarters?
Yeah, they're not in super villain prison anymore.
Right. But even if they were, you could lock a quarters every much as a cargo bay. Strange. It was strange before, it is still strange.
Yeah.
So Bashir goes to help them settle in and start the work. And Lauren says she, meaning Serena, is afraid she's going to get hurt. It won't, I promise. You're in good hands, in very good hands. And we also learn that Lauren, guess what? Got a little crush on Nog.
That is a funny beat.
It's a funny beat. I like it. But only a little pervy. So Bashir technobabbles the problem with O'Brien. And they look at some techno tools. But O'Brien can't do it. He can't fix the tools, but luckily the Super Friends can, and they create the tool that Bashir needs. So we go into these red Star Trek surgery gowns, which, they might be a little silly. I think they look great. I think they're really striking visually.
So correct me if I'm wrong, though.
Yeah.
I guess we can talk about it later, but outside of them really creating this machine, I guess, they do nothing else on this episode. There's no other purpose to be there.
No. No, because they turn the whole thing. Because they figure out at the end
Oh, right.
that she's faking, yeah.
Right. Okay. But, like, somebody else could have figured that out. That very well could have been Esri. Like, we didn't need these people. They don't do anything.
I actually disagree. I think both they do this, but also they're Serena's family.
Yeah.
Right? And not only do they sort of, like, help her guide all through this, at the end, her change necessitating leaving her family is like part of the story, and their reaction to her leaving and such.
Okay.
Like, I feel like that's all inherent.
All right.
That's all important. I'm glad they're back, Mike. I'm glad.
Okay, yeah, and we've definitely developed their characters a little bit more. They're totally not just stock Commedia dell'arte tropes.
Exactly. Just because you hate them. So we begin the surgery. Lights and gizmos. And montage. And which I thought the lights and gizmos actually look pretty cool.
Lights and gizmos look cool, yeah.
I could buy that did a thing. So after 5 days, it seems like it hasn't worked. Bashir goes to talk it over with Esri. She tries to cheer him up, but then they spot Serena walking down the promenade. He goes up to her and...
Look at that alien in the back.
That's pretty cool.
It's really cool. All that work. Barely...
It's crazy how, like, intricate and cool these things are. We never feature them. It's because they're hard to act in. Like, I get it. But, like, you know, just like, I'm going to make this background person, like, wear this thing that took 15 hours to put on and they can't breathe. But it's a bummer they don't get more screen time.
You notice the makeup shift, too. I noticed this in the episode, too. It's like when she was getting the surgeries, they had her a very, like a pallor type of makeup on.
Yeah. They black out her eyes.
It's like greenish hued, and now she's got flushed cheeks and she's alive.
Which is weird. I'm not entirely sure what biological thing is happening there. Mm-hmm. And you'll notice that even when she was faking it, she has the black eyes again. And then it goes away. It's like to represent, but it felt a little heavy-handed. Anyway, she speaks. It worked. And so in Act 2, Serena is experiencing the world fully conscious for the first time. And she's
Awakenings.
giddy. Yeah. But she understands literally everything, including the procedure that she went through. She says, I was listening when you were telling the nurses about the procedure. I keep thinking I wanted to thank you for what you were trying to do for me, and now I finally can. Thank you.
This is a part that, like, struck with me because of that movie. And because the movie, which is based on a true story, by the way. Do you know the tale of that movie? De Niro is like a patient who has this disease, which is a real disease, I can't remember what it's called, that basically makes them living statues.
Oh, God.
But they just believe they're sort of, like, not there. But then they find out Robin Williams
he was fully conscious.
Puts it together that it's like maybe has something to do with seizure disorder, and so starts to give them super high dose of this seizure medicine, wakes them all up, and they find out that they're alive in there, like just trapped and like sent into an institution or whatnot. And, nightmare, right? Anyway,
I don't want to watch that movie.
It's a great movie. It's really great.
Terribly sad and depressing.
But there's moments of joy and wonder, like life, Keith. And anyway, remind me, because she says the same thing. She's like, I was alive in there. I could hear you. I could do everything.
Yeah, and that's what she says. And she sort of illustrates this in a couple of different ways. I think she's smarter than Bashir. Like, she's more superpowered than... She's maybe the most superpowered of all of them.
Yes. She's Professor X. Nobody knew it.
Yeah. So then Serena goes to greet her friends. They're all stunned and delighted. Jack is immediately a jerk about her voice, which is different because she has never spoken before. And they solve it with an extended musical number where they improvise on solfege. And we talked about it a little bit. So this is the whole, we're all gonna sing in a long sequence of solfege, all right, so I'm a musician, right? I like musical improvisation. I like the collaboration they're doing. I think it's interesting. It does train your body to make sound and to have control over your own voice. The math of the music connects the body to the mind. Like, all of that makes a lot of sense. It's also really dicey in terms of just being kind of eggy and dorky.
Yeah. I mean, I guess I felt that it just went on a little too long. It does show their familiar dynamic and their sense of play with each other, which I thought was kind of interesting, and their ability to kind of riff
their intuitive understanding of music because of their intelligence. They could like follow the math and the key, and like it was. I like it conceptually, and if I feel nobody is watching me who's gonna like hang me by my underwear while I'm watching it, like I really enjoy it. But like if I were in high school and like the bullies saw me watching this,
it
like,
does almost feel like, and I have no idea if this is true or not, but it also feels like they watched the dailies afterwards and they're like, okay, that was cool. It doesn't make a lot of sense because the direct next scene is Bashir at the bar explaining why we did this sequence. He's like, oh, her recovery through a musical was like faster than we've ever seen before. And I was like, well, we could have just, it could have been, if we're going to already talk about it in the next scene to explain the previous, maybe it was a little long. I don't know.
I don't know. I mean, music therapy is a real thing.
I'm not saying it's not. I also like music, it turns out. It just felt a little, I don't know. I'm going to be honest. I thought it was dumb.
Yeah. I think there are good points to be made on both sides, for sure.
And they're like, guys, should we write like an actual song and like make some lyrics and stuff? Nah, that's too much effort. Just put some do-re-mis up on there.
Honestly, if it weren't the do-re-mi, it would have really helped.
Yeah.
Because it's do-re-dork. Let's face it. I do
or
not
like
like
have them go to Vic's and sing a standard.
A million times. Yeah. Yes, they should have gone to Vic's. 100%. Have Vic
just beam up over, yeah.
Like have Vic teach her a song to get her used to using her voice. Now
we're writing an episode I like, and she at the end she doesn't. It's none of the weird stuff. She just dumps Bashir to hook up with Vic. He walks out with him later. He's like, "Catch you later, kid."
Bada bing, baby. I like it. That's so much better. So anyway, Bashir is blown away and distracted by Serena's success, so much so that he accidentally stands up O'Brien. O'Brien is annoyed, but happy for his friend. Bashir goes home to discover Serena in his quarters.
Jen, don't listen. Spoilers.
Spoilers, Jen.
Keith's been cursing all episode.
I have not.
Keith, I think you've dropped like 4 F-bombs.
I have not. How dare you?
All right, stay tuned to the post-credits.
Can't wait. Where was I? Oh, yes. So, Bashir goes home to discover Serena there. She is too excited / nervous to go to sleep. So Bashir, somewhat awkwardly, pulls her into a hug and they fall asleep on the couch. It's funny, like, the ending of this about, like, it's unintentional abuse of the power dynamics, I think when it came out is supposed to be like a twist, but seeing it with 2025 eyes the whole time, I'm like, oh no, bad. Like, I'm just like, don't do this. This is bad. This is dicey. Immediately.
Yeah. I have thoughts.
Okay, well, we're definitely going to talk about it, because that's what this whole episode's about.
Because it's, even looking back at the screenshots, I think it's important to point out, before we get to all of that, not just the writing, because we'll talk about that also, but in that first scene, where she comes out of her little coma, for lack of a better term.
Sure.
The two actors have very good chemistry. And even looking at him, like, there's an instant chemical, you see it.
Sure, yeah.
So I think, for me at least, now thinking back, just for context, I watched the episode moments before we started recording her, so it's very, I'm still processing. One of those situations. I think I was along for the ride, the romance. I was on the romance train for a little bit longer than probably was right before I was like, maybe this is poor idea. So I don't want to get too like up in my into my shaky fist about it, because I was on board for a little while so I had to have a realization, but I had mine a little bit sooner than he did.
Well, for sure. I mean, like it's a tremendously human story, and like I don't think he is in any way a bad guy here. I think he loses sense of his judgment, and it's very understandable why. But also, anyway, we'll get into it. So the next morning, they wake up together, and she's already solved his big medical question that he had been working on for months. He heads off to work, but she sends him off with his scone. They're already playing house. Do you remember the episode where we did the scone and jam?
Wasn't that the interrogation episode?
That's right. So in the cargo bay, they're doing their typical stuff when Serena comes in, and they're freaking out about the universe collapsing.
Great screen.
You know, of course, ironically, just months before this episode aired, we scientifically proved the universe is expanding, not collapsing. So they didn't know what was what.
That adoring just shot of her looking at Nogs.
Looking at that.
So good.
Which is great because, you know, of course, the pad is not a pad. That's like a wooden thing with a sticker of Nog on it. That's great. I hope Aaron got that pad when he left the show. He deserved that. Anyway, so they're freaking out about the universe, and Jack becomes annoyed at Serena very quickly. And she realizes that the dynamics don't work anymore within the four of them. Later, Bashir goes to check on them all and finds Serena comatose in a chair. Uh-oh. But as it turns out, she's just pretending because the super friends are annoying. And she has learned to adapt. And, you know, and this is where I think there are a fair amount of, like, autism parallels here with her masking to fit into the weird group dynamic here.
Yeah, it's funny. And this is not a criticism. This is like an interesting psychoanalyzation that, for as much as she says, I don't want to fall asleep, right? Because I don't want to go back to that way, and I don't want to, you know, miss any time being alive. More parallels to Awakenings. But her coping mechanism when she's uncomfortable or when she can't handle a problem straight on is to fake back that same shutdown. Yeah, which is interesting.
Yeah, which is a tool that
yeah.
everybody uses,
right.
But certainly, you know, neurodivergent people use it a lot, and it's very understandable. So, then Bashir asks her out to Quarks, and she agrees, and they go behind a thing because they don't get to have quarters for her to get dolled up for the date. And they head out, and they have dinner with O'Brien, Ezri, Odo, and Kira. And later that night, Serena has every one of them sized up, which I thought was fun. And she says, I liked your friends, all of them. If I had to find someone to replace Atlas to hold up the world, it would be Miles. He'd do it with a smile, too. And Kira, she never doubts herself, which is what Odo finds so fascinating about her, because he doubts everything but her. But she was like, what about Ezri? He says, the day she realizes she's more than just the sum of her parts, she's really going to be something. Very insightful. And I totally get it. But they realize that Serena's going to have to start a life away from the Super Friends. They've been a family, and she's going to miss them. But it's not going to work. And she says, so, what's a genetically enhanced girl supposed to do when she wakes up from a long sleep? Point to one of those little specks of light out there, pack her bag, and go make a life for herself? And Bashir says, why does she have to go anywhere? Then he freaking kisses her. Which, yeah, go ahead.
So, sorry, I'm having, my brain is blowing up right now a little bit because, like I said, just watched it. When I just realized, I was thinking this whole time about the end and her having this realization at the end about her not being able to give Bashir what he wants and him having this idealized nature of her and her not being able to live up to that because she's just kind of figuring out who she is. Her journey is very clear.
Yeah.
But what I didn't think about and is very clear to me right now and makes the whole episode kind of okay. What I'm saying is, remember, because there's this moment he goes, well, what about me? And she's like, well, you're lonely, you're really smart and lovely.
Yeah.
I think at this moment in the episode, she has him sized up and she instantly knows, oh, he's seeing in me. I think she already knows her ending realization right here.
Oh, for sure.
That's what I didn't get while watching.
I think so too. Like, I think she feels, and this is again, which is why this episode is weirdly like ahead of its time in our cultural understanding of things.
Well, she feels grateful. She feels
obligated.
And also, I think she does have attraction to him. And the first time you feel that is all kinds of confusing and exciting and all of those things. And yeah.
But she feels indebted to him.
Also
she feels obligated.
It does
to
complicate
him.
It, which she can see, but he cannot at this moment.
And again, if I'm going to beat this autism parallel to death, that's sort of like the masking and the trying to people please and meet expectations, especially when you feel indebted.
Mm-hmm.
And because she's so intuitive, she's reading him like a computer. She's trying to fit into the position that he wants her to be in, right? Like immediately, right? Mm-hmm. Like before she even wakes up, because she's aware of what was happening. She wanted to say thank you. She already felt indebted before she even woke up. And so she's using all these superpowers to like try to fit herself into the box that he wants, and then realizing, of course, she can't do that. And that is, I think, like surprisingly, like this episode is such a downer. It's so freaking sad. But I think that part of it is really smartly done, really intelligently handled.
I mean, you could make the argument, I'm sure people have made the argument, I'm guessing, that he's so also super intelligent. Maybe she's smarter, but he's also super intelligent, and he should be recognizing not only the conflict of interest, but the sort of position of the uncomfortable position she's in at this moment.
The power dynamics.
Yeah.
Well, but intelligence sometimes is overridden by your emotions, which is why, as a therapist, you don't therapize your family, because you are too emotionally involved that it overrides your objectivity, no matter how smart you are.
Yeah, I guess that was the point I was heading towards, is that I like the idea, right, even in this super sci-fi world, that as humans, our hearts and other parts often belie even super intelligence.
Which is why you have rules, even when everyone's operating in good faith. Why rules are still necessary in a world of good faith.
Yeah, but this is also a world, Keith, where Bashir has been allowed to break many of those rules.
He has indeed. He has indeed. So, anyway, Bashir tells Jack, Lauren, and Patrick that Serena is leaving, and they're all heartbroken. So he takes Serena to Quark's, and they gamble. And of course, she's immediately counting Dabo, and Quark cuts them off.
That's cool.
I mean, of course. I mean, it's fun. Well, we're doing sort of like a Rain Man thing now.
Well, where are all those Dabo tables? I want a Dabo table.
It's you don't have space in your basement. You have a big basement, but
dude, wouldn't that be cool though? As like a drink table, a Dabo table.
It would be cool. Like put some glass over it to use as a regular table. Mm-hmm. Be a great table to like play D&D on. But anyway, you don't have the budget. So anyway, she's on board, but she's pretty overwhelmed by the chaotic environment of Quarks. Again, making the neurodivergent parallel. Too much noise, too much light, too many people. So he walks her home and invites her to spend a week on Ryza. Whew, moving quick. And this is where like I start getting really uncomfortable. Anyway, so later he and O'Brien talk it through. Bashir is completely smitten, but O'Brien is concerned. Really good friending here from O'Brien. And it says, I haven't seen you like this in a long time, and I'm really happy for you. But don't you think this is all happening a little fast? We're genetically enhanced. We do everything fast. But Julian, she's your patient. Not anymore. I asked the Dr. Durandi to take over her care. So he's trying to do the right thing. Miles, I don't think you understand what this means to me. All these years, I've had to hide the fact that my DNA had been resequenced. I hear people talk about the genetically engineered saying that we're all misfits. I used to fantasize about meeting someone like me, someone who was able to live a normal life, but it never happened until Serena. Don't you see? She's the woman I've been waiting for all of my life. So, despite, I think this being such a great example about why power dynamics need to be handled carefully, even when you have the best intentions, it's also such a human and understandable thing that Bashir's going through here. Like, I totally get it.
This is sex agnostic, right? This following comment. It just reminds me of it. I'll speak from personal experience. Remember there's a period of time where I was doing a lot of online dating in the early days of online dating before I met my wife. And had some great dates, met some really lovely people, really interesting people. I wasn't in the place where I was ready to really pursue any of those things. So I probably wasn't open as much as I could be. In fact, I was pretty closed off. Affable, but not really opening the avenue to anything romantically.
Yeah.
And there are a handful, that's not true, like 2 or 3, but I guess that's pretty handful-ish, of women who were lovely women who, when I let it be known that I was not interested in and that I was bailing basically.
Yeah.
After a date or two, were very much, but I thought we were getting married. Here's all the reasons why our relationship, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh, they're coming into this experience wanting a very specific thing that's already defined and just putting me into that, right? Which is almost exactly what's happening here. He is expounding upon what he's always wanted, and
He's
just she'll do it. Yeah, she's it. He's done it for days, right?
The whole life has been planned out, which is very human and very I'm certainly guilty of that.
Oh yeah,
for sure. I'm that person in a relationship, for sure. Although I've had the other thing happen as well. God, I need to get onto the online dating part. I'm on, but I never swipe the yes one. I always swipe no. I don't know. Someday it's gonna happen. But yeah, no, it's messy. It's messy because we're all so freaking human. So the next night, Bashir has set up an elaborate romantic dinner, but she doesn't show. He goes to her quarters, and when she doesn't respond, he immediately overrides the door. Also, maybe a bit of a power dynamic there too.
Well, she did it to him.
Yes, but that doesn't make it right.
And I'm guessing, just like me, I figured, oh, she must have gone back and maybe she's sick. So I'm cutting him a little bit of
Yes, but you're not her doctor anymore. You call the other doctor to check on her.
Have Oda goo up in there under the door.
Yeah, exactly. So she's inside and back to being comatose, and she's blacked out her eyes again because she did her makeup differently. So in Act 5, Bashir has taken her straight to the infirmary, but nobody can tell what's gone wrong. Now, to his credit, he's not trying to treat her himself. Time passes and there's no progress. So Bashir goes to the Super Friends for help. He leaves Serena with them for a time and returns home to an extremely wilted dinner, and he's wilted himself.
Keith, pause for gross. I forget it. I thought she was coming to say goodbye to me and kiss me, and we were going to be all cutie on the.
She just wanted a snack?
No, she's just doing laundry. Oh man, looks like I'm the Bashir in this one.
Oh. But you don't have any advantage in power.
No, CEO Jen's never that quiet.
Oh no. Yikes.
Who's she barking at?
Anyway.
All right, well, do you want to do the smooch now, Jen, and get it over with?
You want to get guilted into it because you're on camera?
Love you too. Have a good day.
Gooseberries.
Gooseberries and honey pot. What was it?
I don't remember.
It's a good t-shirt. I wanted to make it for her.
Gooseberries.
Jen, what was
and
it that you were
honey pot.
laughing at? We called you gooseberries and what? Forget it. She doesn't watch the review show. She just watches the episode.
She should do the review of the review show.
Yeah,
It was too long.
Yeah. It's called Divorce Space 9.
We could complete the set. It'll be great.
We're completionists.
Anyway, oh God, where were we?
Do you know
right.
every time I see my company's logo on our show, I panic. I have a panic attack.
That's
I was like, they don't want to be associated.
They're not watching. I guarantee
No.
that. So, Bashir is sad and alone, and then the Super Friends have figured it out, and they go to his quarters to tell him. And
That's the
Patrick
only one
says,
that rings a little untrue to me.
what's that?
She's so like rapidly developing emotionally, intelligently. Her emotional quotient is very high, and yet she pretends to be catatonic for a day instead of just having a conversation with him.
Hard disagree. First off, she's been awake for like 48 hours. Second of all, speaking as members of the neurodivergent community, we do this all the damn time.
Yeah, but like you're also still like assuming that's what they were, the analogy they were writing, and I don't think they were.
Well, but it's
I think
very,
you're identifying with it, and I completely agree.
I'm very much identifying.
I
with it, but-
completely understand that, but I do not think that is what is attempting the story that is attempting to be being
Well,
told.
it's basically the equivalent of him being left on red. She freaked out. She doesn't know how to respond to the text, so she throws her phone in the river, and this is her version of doing it.
I mean, I guess if I was writing you the text bubble and then you broke into my house, I might freeze. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean,
if you like, you know, within 48 hours of knowing me, want to take me to a sex planet for a week, and I felt like, oh God, I can't say no, I might
Thank
throw
you.
my phone in the river. That'd make me catatonic.
Intention matters a lot here, though.
For sure. But I actually totally buy it, especially considering like what I have done to disappear, right? When I am catatonic, I have disappeared my entire life. It just worked with the Super Friends.
I know that Super Friends instance was foreshadowing, but even then, I just think I like your interpretation of it. That works for me. What doesn't work for me is I believe the episode is using it as a bait and switch to fool us so they can have a reveal
Well,
so that we can...
Yes, this is where we divert from Flowers and Algernon or Charlie. Right. This is where we divert from the story.
Or
that
Awakenings,
we're
where she
retelling
goes,
here.
he legit, the medicine stops working and they go back into a coma.
Yeah. So this is the switch. This is the way we didn't just copy paste. I actually, personally, think it works really well. But whatever. So he says, Patrick says she can still talk. It's just that she's afraid to. So Bashir rushes to Serena, and he says, "Serena, please talk to me. I know you can. What's wrong? Tell me. Don't be afraid. Is it me? Because if it is, I'll do whatever it takes to make it right. I love you. I want us to be together. Serena, do you love me?"
No, dude! Just met you, man!
It's so uncomfortable. This is what the kids would call cringe.
Mm-hmm.
Very cringe.
It's also very sad for poor
It's
Bashir.
terribly sad.
Yeah.
It's sad for everybody. So she's forced to speak, and she says, "I don't know. I don't even understand what love is. I don't understand anything." Of course. And he says, "Serena," she says, "what am I supposed to..." This is what killed me. "What am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to feel? Tell me. I want to make you happy. I owe you everything." And this is the danger. This is like, ugh. And he says, "No, you don't owe me anything." She says, "I'm sorry. I wish I could be the woman you want me to be." It's a heartbreaking scene for both of them. It really is. And it's just like, but this so beautifully and empathetically illustrates, you know, why power imbalances in a relationship are really problematic. Whether it's I want something from you for a career, or I feel indebted to you, or if I feel like I obligate, like there's so many different ways in which we can get ourselves into this situation where you are trapped in a relationship that the other person wants more than you do, but you, for whatever reason, have to continue it. It's really, but I think this is a really great way to to tell that story. I'd almost like, this should be the HR video. Because it's like, we get it, but also there's some real downsides here. So later, a despondent Bashir sits alone in the Replomat. O'Brien comes to check on him. He's arranged a job for Serena. And he says, how could I have been so blind, Miles? What was I thinking trying to move things so fast? She needed time and I didn't give it to her. I came this close to driving her back inside herself. I'm supposed to be a doctor. I'm supposed to see my patient's needs above my own. And to which I would say, yes, and it's not that he moved too fast. She didn't want to be with him at all. She felt obligated. It wasn't like, I want this, but you're moving too fast. It was, I don't know what I want yet.
I think it's ambiguous. I think it's belied by that first beat. I mean, I believed it in that first beat because, or maybe it's fair to say he misinterpreted her gratefulness.
Is he projecting love onto gratitude?
But that said, I can't really think about Bashir because I'm watching it as a viewer, and as a viewer, the way it was directed, shot, acted, there is chemistry, and you read, this is okay. This is a romantic beat. This is what we're doing. That's what we're doing. I think they probably could have used more of giving us more insight into her expressing verbally or some way that she wasn't sure what she wanted, or, you know, we're never given that. But then again, I guess you could argue, I'm sorry, I'm going back and forth in my head. You could argue that this happens so frequently and we're so used to it, you know, in relationships that we're making those assumptions. I'm making those assumptions as a viewer because those are my patterns of thinking and behavior. So
totally, and also like we're bringing ourselves into it and our own whatever. So, you know, like if I'm
freaking making notes as we're talking, so I can render some sort of verdict.
Because it is the thing. You have to be so aware of the power dynamic and your own biases, right? Because like if I'm running a rehearsal of something that I've written, and there's this cute girl in there, and I'm reading her interaction, it's like, oh, she's kind of flirty. I think she's kind of into me. Well, that could be any number of things that I might be projecting my own hopes and dreams onto. And like I'm hearing the violins, and she's just, and she might even like me, but just not in that way. Or if she doesn't, who the hell knows? But like it's just like, I don't know. It's super complicated, and I think for poor Bashir here, O'Brien sums it up, and it would be also for me too. Like I totally get it. He says, "You didn't want to be lonely anymore. Nobody does," and that is also the truth. And this is where I think the show holds him accountable for his mistake, but also has a tremendous amount of empathy for the position that he's in. So he goes to say goodbye to Serena, and he says, so here you are, on your way to one of those little specks of light out there. She says, I guess that's what a genetically enhanced girl should do when she wakes up from her sleep. Go make a life for herself. And she says, I'm gonna miss you. I'm gonna miss you too. And then she leaves, leaving Bashir alone.
Just kiss him on the lips, though.
I think it was more cheeky than that screenshot would lead you to believe.
Yeah, because I was like, okay.
I don't remember it being like a lippy kiss. It was definitely a like friend zone kiss.
Yes, for sure.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, there you are. Let's adjudicate.
AlamarEmmys, there was more. AlamarEmmys, it's AlamarEmmys time. Jen says it, and I happen to agree. She's like, there's very little funnier than when you crack yourself up.
Oh, like that's our brand. Our brand is literally waiting for you to crack yourself up.
Yeah, it's a curse being so funny.
T-shirt.
Yeah.
T-shirt. It's a curse being so funny. Mike and Deglio.
In the back it says comedian.
Thank you, Jamie, for getting that.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody else will.
there are a lot of good moments in this episode. I actually think I've come around to liking a little bit more than my initial view. But I would probably say the best moment is probably the post-talk with... Well, twice. O'Brien gets a chance to be... There are 3 beats. There's 3 magical beats with O'Brien in this episode.
Yeah.
There's the beat where, like, finally the bromance is defined. It's like being Facebook official. They come to that dinner with all the friends, and she's like, oh, it's your best friend. And they can't admit it, and then they're like, oh, yeah, that's what guys do, right?
Right.
And it's such like a traditional sex roles type flip comment, but at the same time, 100% true, right? Dudes are weird, man. I say it all the time. It's like you wanna talk to your partner who's, if you have especially if it's like a dude's dude, go have a catch. Go throw a baseball or a football or something. They'll open up. That's what guys do.
We're weird little basement trolls who can't talk about our feelings.
Yeah. So there's that moment, and then once it's defined, he goes and is a friend. He encounters him. He's like, hey, dude, nobody else is going to say this to you. I'm glad you're happy, but, like, whoa, pump the brakes.
Yeah.
And then when it's all said and done, it could have been a I told you so moment. No. It's a let's learn from this moment, and I just think it's really awesome. I also loved Serena's brief poetic summarization of all of the characters.
Yeah.
That was interesting. Sure. So I think the O'Brien friendship beats are going to be my best moments for this episode.
Yeah, I think so too. I think there's the 2 moments. I think when Serena is like, it is such an uncomfortable scene, but I think it's a really good scene where she finally has to say, like, dude, like, I don't like, and it is I think a moment anyone in the universe has been through at some point, whether it's the moment you've been together for 10 years and you decide to break up, or whether it's that girl you've had a crush on who doesn't see you that way, or whatever it is. I think deeply cringe, but also a very human moment, and it felt real. I think they handled it beautifully. But I think for me, it's going to be that moment of empathy for O'Brien. Because, that you didn't want to be lonely anymore. Nobody does. Because he was not, like, letting his friend off the hook. He was not pretending it wasn't he wasn't pretending like he didn't mess up. He's not pretending like O'Brien didn't, like, fail his HIPAA. He didn't fail, like, he's not letting him off the hook, but he is coming in with some empathy. Because it's like, Bashir's like, I'm supposed to be a doctor. I'm supposed to put my patients' need above my own. O'Brien is like, no, you didn't do it wrong. He's yes, and that is true, and it is understandable you didn't want to be lonely. That is the part of the human condition.
And that's different than what you usually see, right? Because usually what you see, or what your job as a friend is to be like, dude, I get it, you're sad. Stop wallowing, right? It's that scene in Avenue Q, to go back to last week, where it's like there's life outside your apartment. Like, you can only sit and eat pizza and drink beer and be depressed and feel sorry for yourself for so long. But that's not this beat at all.
Yeah. Or it's, oh, no, you didn't do anything wrong. She's a problem.
Yeah. Right.
Or whatever it is. Like, it's trying to divert. It's not accepting that reality and adding to it. It's trying to make it something else.
Yeah, yes, I agree. We'll get into the conversation now.
There it is.
You get some stamps. Hell yeah, they are self-sealing. Here are some stamps for you.
I think it's like a very nuanced conversation about emotions and feelings and complex things, more so than we have a lot. And probably the best therapy episode we've had. And it comes from O'Brien.
Which is ironic, because this is also written by Renee Echevarria, who we were talking about before, the last therapy episode. And I believe Echevaria's wife was a therapist.
So, I often will read, like, I'll have give me after I watch the episode, I'll have a summary of, like, what are people's main criticisms with this episode? What are people's main just to kind of see where I fall between the extremes. I can see a subset of people, and I've read this, is of thinking he's a little predatory here, or he's a little crosses some ethical lines or whatnot. And it's funny, I tend to agree with what I think you're putting down, is that I don't think he really does. I think
I think he very much does.
Yes.
But I understand why.
But even when he is faced with or realizes that he's approached those lines, he does make effort to back off.
He doesn't do it on purpose.
Right.
I guess maybe is the distinction.
And like, oh, I can't be her doctor, so I will not be her doctor anymore.
Right.
But that he doesn't ever see the power dynamic, right? That
right.
is inappropriate and or at least
it's weird. He sees it enough to adjust, like, to not be her doctor, but I think he doesn't see the power of the power dynamic.
And also, listen, there is a large group of folks, and our art and literature often backs up this magical notion of that, like, regardless of all of that, true love conquers all and is bigger than everything. So in his brain, he's like, if we love each other, I can bend everything else around it to make that the focus. And the truth is that that's not always true, right? I don't think it's appropriate whether, when people are of a certain age difference, and that's appropriate in any way at any time, regardless of how you feel about each other, right? Like, that does not trump everything. But I can see the I think they did a really great job of demonstrating the difficulty Bashir has here. Because it does seem like there's some chemistry there. It does seem like there's enough of an in for him to then create the fantasy, right? That is inappropriate.
Sure.
The thing that I can't get out from underneath is that, to me, the most interesting part of the episode, the most interesting story being told, is actually Serena and her quiet strength, emotional growth, emotional aptitude.
The balls she has.
The balls. She doesn't rush to define herself, right? She recognizes who she is and perhaps who she become, and that she needs to explore that. She needs to test the waters, absorb the world before she can jump into anything like that. What did I write down? Oh, realizing that being wanted doesn't mean being ready, which I think is a deeply mature adult thing you learn much later in life, right? A lot of people will tell you that, like, after their first marriage, second marriage, like, oh, now I kind of understand the hell of what I was jumping into before. Right.
Sure.
And then whenever she's overwhelmed emotionally, she listens to herself, right? She recognizes her feelings are being projected onto her. They're more about Bashir's idealized version of her than her own desires. Really awesome. And recognizes she can't be what he wants or needs. That's awesome. But I think, unfortunately, the vibe of the story and the storytelling is like Bashir heavy, in that we're feeling sorry for his loss, right? Where I know you will say yes but I feel like that is the focus, where I would wish it was on her, because she's the most interesting character in this whole episode. Mm-hmm. I think you could see Bashir. He's made a lot of growth, his character, in kind of his self-assessment. And you could see this as a regression of that, but I think you've expounded very much over the past hour and a half that that's not really the case here. I think he's susceptible to the same emotional flaws as all of us, and he does grow here. He does learn and grow, which is, I think, all he can really ask for. To be frank, I think it does a great... It's a sad exploration, but I think it's a mature one. I also think that Alexander Siddig, who is often uneven in his sort of way he characterizes Bashir at times, is really subtle and excellent kind of in this episode.
Yeah.
I don't think he ever in my opinion, comes across predatory, right? Because I think his intent is focused. I think he believes he loves this woman.
Yeah, for sure.
And also, I think also he's so focused, as we see with him in bed, in fixing these problems, right, and fixing these medical issues. And that is something that it started with her, right? He wants to fix her and fix the thing. And once he's done that, now he's unlocked to this. I don't know. I just think it was a great kind of performance. I don't agree with I don't really feel the family stuff with the other characters. They still seem really stock to me, and they don't really accomplish much. And I just wish they were more than they are. So they didn't really do much for me. All told, I still feel a lot melt on it. I'm thinking a C. I'm giving it 70 stem bolts.
Yeah. So I think this is an episode that I've grown to like more over time. And I think as I've aged, as I understand more of these things through, closer experience, I think I've come to appreciate more of the subtlety. Like I said, mature. This is a mature episode. And let me be clear. Bashir, this is an abuse of power, right? This is a problem. This is like what happened here was not okay. Mm-hmm. However, I do not believe it was intentional. And whereas so many abuses of power are generated by horniness, and Bashir, certainly dumb, horny Bashir, like that's a thing, that's a trope. I don't think that's what happened here. This was fueled by loneliness, mm-hmm. which I think is a different situation. And so, which is where it feels human, right? He does not feel like a predator to me. That does not mean that there wasn't an abuse of power. And so I think he just wanted something so bad. He lost track. He lost his objectivity, which is why you have rules, which are the seatbelts on how you're supposed to handle these situations to protect you from yourself, not because you're a monster, but because you're a human. And I think that is important. And I give him credit for attempting to honor those seatbelts, but it wasn't enough. And luckily, he had O'Brien to be a little bit of a retroactive seatbelt. But anyway, I don't think there's much more to say on it other than, is it going to be my favorite episode? No. But it's an episode that gives you a lot to think about. I think the performances are very good. I think you're right. Alex Siddig is excellent in this. And I walk out of it frustrated and disappointed in a little bit of Bashir, but also feeling way more empathy for him than I usually do. I'm hoping for good things for this poor guy, mm-hmm. right? Mm-hmm. Who has made a mistake, and he knows he made a mistake. I'm not sure he knows all the mistakes he made, but he's on the road. And so for me, I'm a little higher than you. I'm going to give it an 84.
Okay.
It's not going to be the one I rewatch a lot, mm-hmm. because it's so sad. But when I do, I will tip my hat and respect it.
Okay.
That it's not super fun, but I respect it. So
when are the bangers starting, Keith?
Oh, they're coming. They're coming. Don't you worry. We got we're less than 20 episodes from the end, buddy. Mm. Crazy to believe. So next week we had a banger last week.
All right.
Yeah, jeez. Next week we are doing Treachery, Faith, and the Great River.
Keith, what do you think? I think I'm going to keep the baseball exit. When we salute, I think now that baseball's been, we got to keep it.
Yeah. Definitely got to keep the baseball exit. So, in the world, Chrysalis gets a 6.9 on IMDb, which is only 133 out of 173. I think I'm a lot higher on this episode than most people are. But that's okay. We can disagree. But next week, we'll be back. It might be 2 weeks. It might be a week and a half. I don't know.
We'll have something for you. We'll have something for you next week.
Well, we'll do something for you. So anyway, thank you all very much for watching. Appreciate the views. we'll see you next week with another episode of Keith and Mike. Watch Deep Space Nine. Gotta swing it now.
Thank
Oh,
you
wait,
for
no, the
watching
baseball's not
K&M
that.
No, that's post, baby.
If you enjoyed our particular brand of nonsense, please like and subscribe. Or become one of our patrons at patreon.com/KNM.
And you'll notice that Keith and I cuss.
I did not. The 19-minute boner.
It's a curse being so funny.